Good afternoon, student. History 10th unit Industrial Revolution. Industrial Revolution, nothing but manpower replaced by machine power. Learning objectives. The essential feature of industrial revolution in the 18th century in England. What are the favorable conditions prevailing in England for the industrial revolution? Invention that facilitated revolution in textile production, steel industry quickening the process of industrialization in England, rise of working class movement and its consequence in England, second industrial revolution France, Germany and America, the great railroad strike and Haymarket massacre in US, that is USA, impact of industrial revolution in India. The machine power instead of manpower, goods began to produce not by hand but by machines, we call industrial revolution. Introduction. In the later half of the 18th century, major changes occurred in the method of productions that changed the history of humankind. This profound transformation is described as the industrial revolution. Goods began to produce not by hand but by the machine. This increased the volume of goods production. Society transformed from an agrarian and handicraft economy to one dominated by factory and machine production. Starting in England first, it spread to other part of the world. Attribute of industrial revolution, that is what are the causes of industrial revolution? Use of new basic material, iron and steel, use of new energy sources, coal, electricity, petroleum, invention of new machines such as the spinning journey and the power loom that increase the production with a minimum expanding of human energy, emergence of new organization known as the factory system, which entailed increasing division of labor and expli- specialization of work, development in transport and communication, increasing the application of science and technology in industrial field, the use of new technology. Beginning of industrial revolution. The industrial revolution began in England first because it had certain external factors. They were England had abundant resource and possessed colonies throughout the world, with India being the brightest jewel in the British crown. Access to coal, iron, and raw cotton from the colonies. England possessed the required infrastructure for textile developed by immigrant artisans from the Netherlands. England had a developed banking system, a growing entrepreneurial classes, and potential investors. Encouragement of the Royal Society of England for scientific discoveries and inventions. Political stability also led for the new invention in England. Invention of steam power. In the 18th century, British mine owners were faced with the problem of water sweeping into the mines. Water had to be removed to extract coal, so they employed additional labor to pump the water out. Employing human labor cost a lot of money. Thomas Newcomb invented a contrived pump to water out of mines. James Watt, a Scottish engineer, converted a stationary steam engine to rotatory engines which consumed less fuel. James Watt, the Scottish engineer, development textile. Before the Industrial Revolution, the spinning and weaving of cloth were undertaken for domestic and local consumption only. It was done at home or in a small herd places. The production also took place on a cottage scale. In 1773, John Carr invented a flying shuttle which, when operated by hand, increased the speed of the weaving of cloth. In 1764, James Hargreaves invented spinning jenny. This machine spun 8 threads at one and the same time. 2 years later, Richard Arkwright invented the water frame. This spinning frame used water power in the place of manpower. The water frame was too big to be run at home. This was born in the industries and factories. In 1779, Samuel Crompton invented spinning mule, which included a combination of both spinning journey and a water frame. It spun the hundreds of threads simultaneously and produced 8 fine and coarse thread. Eli Whitney invented a cotton gin in 1793, removing the seed from the cotton. Textile good in large quantities. Textile manufacturing was the heart of the Industrial Revolution. The newly invented machines possible factories to produce textile goods in a large quantities. Derbyshire, Lancashire, Cheshire, Staffordshire, and Yorkshire became the major factory centers in Britain. The most notable was Manchester, which had more than 50 mills in 1802. These factories involved the mass productions were organized on the principle of division of labors. Iron and steel industry. This is an important industry to develop the industrial revolution throughout the world. The rolling mill, the machine from rolling steel or any other metal into sheet, provide to be a 15 times faster than hammering wrought iron. In 1856, Henry Bessemer discovered a faster and cheaper method of producing steel. In course of time, iron and steel came to be used in making all machines and in all industries. Mining industry. The development of factories by Arkwright and improvement of the steam engine by James Watt further increased the demand for coal because all the industries work with the steam power, so they were to depend the coal. As a result, coal mines became deeper and deeper, make it more and more dangerous. As miner used oil lamp in the mine, that the risk of explosion was high, leading to the death of miners. This was reduced by invention of safety lamp by Sir Humphrey Davy in 1815. Transportation and communication. Industrial revolution was dependent on good transportation. As production increased, raw material had to be brought from afar to the country. It is far away to the countries, factories. After the goods were produced, they had to be transported to the different place of the market. As a result, new network of canals, road, and railroads were built. George Stephenson, steam locomotive helped to improve the road and railway transport system in the country. Macadamised roads. John Loudon Macadam was a pioneer Scottish engineer who single-handedly changed the way roads were built around the world. Macadamised road came to be adapted world over. Modern rail transport. The railway date back to the 6th century BC. There were man or animal driven. Modern rail transport commenced with the British development of the steam locomotive engine in the early 19th century. The first railway line in England was opened between Stockton and Darlington in 1825. In the next 40 years, nearly 15,000 miles of a railway network was completed. After Robert Fulton of the US invented a steamboat called Clement in 1807 that sailed from New York to Albany. After a few years, After a few years, a steamboat carrying a cargo shuttled and the rivers and a coastal line. By 1830, the 40 miles between Manchester and Liverpool could be covered in the an hours and a half. Thank you, student. We will discuss about the lesson continuation next class. That is effect of industrial revolution in England and spread of industrial revolution, and then impact of industrial revolution in India. Please follow the assignment given in the PDF. Thank you, student.